I'm going to be working with Rhett on some lunging. So Rhett has done quite a bit of this. So he was off the track. He's been off the track for many years now. But he has a lot of tension and things that he has to work through. When I bought him, he was very tense lunging. Just wanted to basically run. um, Trot was fast. Walk was decent. His trot was fast. His canter was just a run. I had to do a lot of training with that. I used a lot of positive reinforcement. It looks much better now. It's not perfect, but it's much better. So right now, the thing I'm working on is him standing and just waiting. So one thing with him is that I was trying to fix his forwardness, and in it, I was just clicking and reinforcing him for going forward because that was the part I was focused on fixing when really he needed to work on standing and relaxing as well. And so I'm adding that in now. So unfortunately, I have to go in a backtrack and do that, but I'm just letting him stand for a few seconds and then clicking and treating. And then he stood really well there, and I'm just going to send him off. Um, he already knows like my cues for lunging. I've kept those the same. He's pretty relaxed about it overall, but if your horse is a lot more worried, you might have to do some lunging that doesn't look exactly like lunging. Use some different tools in a different place, stuff like that, just to change the context so they're not associating all that tension with lunging. But Rhett he's done a lot. He does a lot better, and he is in a different location. I'm not so super sure about the tools. I do have like a driving whip or a lunge whip. I never ever use it. Um, so he was walking nice and relaxed there. So I'm gonna click and reward him there. He doesn't, first of all, doesn't need the whip. I don't want to do any whipping. It's just kind of, I hold it. That's pretty much it. He really doesn't even need it. I really don't even need to hold it, but that's why it's in my hand. Um, so if your horse has a negative attachment to that or association with that, then I would just get rid of the whip altogether. But he was standing nice and relaxed here, so I clicked and fed him again. So he's doing super good. But this is pretty much the beginning of him being rewarded for standing and just being relaxed, being in default. And he's doing really quite well with it. So I'm trying to just get rid of as much tension as possible. He has a few things we need to work on that you'll see later, but lunging isn't necessarily one of them. I really want to just build up duration and canter. Um, and that's really it. Just standing still and waiting, and then building the duration and canter and a correct canter is really what Rhett needs to work on. He's probably my most advanced horse. So, but he looks really good at this. I've only worked on it a few times, and he looks excellent. And that's just his cue to go on. He also knows a walk on. He knows voice cues. He does well with the voice cues. I think that was probably one of the biggest things for him in retraining was the voice cues. He knows the walk on, the trot, and the canter. Those are all his voice cues. I say them in a slightly different tone, but those are the same. And I think that helped him to really change the context of the lunging and help him associate it more positively. I think so. That's kind of what I got out of it. But um, yeah, I think that helped him for sure. And I like to do a lot of walking with him. He is off the track. He wants to be forward. His anxiety comes out in forwardness. So he had a nice walk there. I'm gonna go ahead and click and feed him. So sometimes in his walk he wants to be real slow. So he kind of has a couple different gears. He'll do a slow kind of pleasury walk, which I really want more impulsion from that because he is going to be a dressage horse. So for his walk, I want a bit more impulsion. For his trot's pretty good. Moments he'll do flashbacks and just do a really hurried one, which I have to shape a bit. And then the canter is good too. So he's got those two gears in canter. He has go back to being a racehorse, and he has really nice collected dressage canter. So he has those different things. So I am asking him to move out in the walk. Everything else is going to be nice and cadenced and controlled is what I'm looking for. So right now, all I'm doing is waiting for him. We're working on default. We're working on standing and waiting. I noticed in my training that I was just having him go forward. I was lining things up and having a schedule and being like, okay, Rhett needs to do this, Dakota needs to do that, Castor needs to do this, and I needed to do everything in a timetable. And I was just like, okay, he needs to lunge, and now all I was doing was him going forward, forward, forward. And then I was like, why won't he stand still when I'm trying to lunge or when I'm trying to get on? And I'm like, okay, I'm part of the problem. So I'm telling a forward horse to always go forward, and then I'm like, he's the problem. No, it's me. So we're just gonna go the other way. I do lots of walking too. So to help balance them out, I do like I always warm up on a walk. We'll do some trotting. He might look a little stiff here when his beginning of his trot here. He's 15. He's shot up front. He just can't stay sound without his front shoes. But he works out of it here. He just kind of needs more time to build up his top line, build up some muscling and things like that. But he's probably a little stiff, just moving out. But that was a nice rhythmic trot for him, so I clicked him and fed him for there. And then I do a lot of my clicking on the right hand of or the left hand of the screen. So on the right hand of the screen, on the fence line that you can see is where all the horses live up front. His pasture is would be behind you if you're watching this video. So I kind of add in he's doing it correctly and he's on the furthest end of the arena because they have that fear of the far end of the arena. So that's why you see me doing that a lot. Not all the time, but probably the majority. Probably 75% of the time. I'm waiting for him to show me the behavior. It's something he already knows though, and then doing it in that certain location. So he already has to know how to do it to be specific in the location, but that is something that I am doing. So I ask him to go off the other way. And I'm okay with him kind of like, he's like, what? I was being reinforced for standing. I like that. That's good. And that's probably about as much pressure as I put on him with that driving whip was I kind of hold it up and was like, okay, please go. That's about it. And really like it works for Rhett. It's not ideal probably, but it works for him. He doesn't feel real pressured. Obviously, you can tell he's not real worried about it. So I just kind of keep using what works. And there we go. That's a bit better trot. Moving out wise, he doesn't look as stiff as he did going the other way. Um, and that's what I really want for this trot. Nice and relaxed, just kind of cruising around, nothing specific. He works well on a nice big circle. I like him to be relaxed. He has a tendency to go hollow and invert, and then he gets all choppy and stuff. So I'm just trying to pick out good moments here, and he really has done well with that. Like you can see him just kind of cruising around with his top line level and not doing too much as far as getting worried and going forward. He's definitely different. I'll have to get a video of him when I first got him to compare, but he looks pretty good. And I will change up exactly what I'm looking for from him as well. So I just had him kind of stand and hang out again between movements, but so for him, I want a couple different trots. So he's a bit more advanced. So I want him just kind of relax and loosen up, which is the trot you're gonna see probably mostly today. But as I move on, I want to see, more of a just a bit more impulsion and then more of an extended trot as well. So it's gonna be different things, but for different times. That's pretty much it. He's a little close to me here. So yeah, you see a little bit of pressure with that dressage whip, but that's pretty much it. And I could probably fix that with a target. I should fix that with a target. It's kind of just gotten a habit of both of us of lunging like that in the beginning, which is probably not super safe. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. Nice relaxed trot. He's swinging nicely. Not a lot of impulsion, but I'm not really worried about that. I kind of have an idea. Um, There's his little canter. It's not perfect, but we're working on it. He's building up his muscles to get it correctly. So I'm gonna click and reward him there. He does about a lap. He does a lap or two each way, and we're just kind of building up from there. I'm really just looking for, I don't necessarily need him in a headset or anything, but I do want him mostly just slowing and not hollowing is what I'm looking for, and then I can shape it from there. Um, but then I'm going to let him stand and relax and then again reinforce for him standing and being relaxed. So he's off gazing at something. That's part of Rhett. He likes to stare off at stuff. So I'm just going to kind of wait for him here. Um, that's just kind of how he is. He's not necessarily a spooky horse, but he does look a lot. So it's probably not even anything. It's probably something imaginary that he's looking at. So he comes back. That's really nice. So when he comes back, I'll hold up a target or I'll click and feed him for like he turns his ear, he turns his head, he looks at me, he's coming back and paying attention. So I'm like, oh, hey, there you are. So then he gets rewarded for paying attention to me, or at least staying present with me. So that's good. I'm gonna allow him just to look. I'm not gonna pull on his face or do anything, but I'm gonna reward when I have that attention or that noticing. So. And that time, I think he had stepped over nicely when I asked him to go out on the lunging circle. I'm pretty sure that's what I was rewarding there. And that again was nice because what I had mentioned before was where he wants to get too close to me when I send him out on the circle. So I am working on that as well. And you can watch the videos of the Mustangs. They don't have that problem very much at all, just because they had been trained with the target. Atlas is a little bit, but not nearly as much as the ones I had been training with negative reinforcement. The target shows them where they're supposed to be and it really sets them up nicely. So just a nice little tip there. I'm just gonna have him go the other way because he hadn't gone. I don't think he trotted this way. He hasn't cantered this way. Um, but I like to mix up a lot of walking between um, the other gaits while he's lunging. I don't lunge much more than this, but I'll do like quicker transitions. I won't let him stand as long. We'll do a little bit longer try, a little bit longer canter. Today was mostly about him just stopping and standing and having a default because I hadn't been working on that, so we stand a lot more. So, and we just kind of balance it up between sessions and kind of work on different things. That's a decent canter for him. I'll click and reward him for that. He comes on in, I'll give him a treat. But he has, this is early winter, late fall, so he's kind of going into off-season mode. We're not going to do a lot. I'm not going to make him work a lot. He's not going to do a whole lot over the winter, so um, I'm not going to ask for very much. I'll put him back into work later on in the spring, and then I'll show that and him progressing and building up muscles and things so he can do some dressage over the summer. But really working on standing still and just being in default. So I click and reinforce again there and just kind of right now with him, it's not a set duration of time that I click and reward for him standing still. It's variable, but he kind of already had that idea to begin with. I didn't start off like that, so but he was really good.